Right now, at this very moment, there are two types of people in this world. Those who think ordinary thoughts and live ordinary lives, and those who have learned to transform their thinking into something extraordinary, and as a result, create greatness. The difference between these two groups has nothing to do with intelligence, education, background, or circumstances. The difference is entirely in how they think, what they believe is possible, and how they process the world around them. Most people are walking through life on autopilot, thinking the same thoughts they thought yesterday, which are the same thoughts they thought last week, last month, last year. They're stuck in mental loops that keep producing the same results, the same frustrations, the same limitations. They wonder why their life isn't changing, why they're not achieving more, why they feel stuck, but they never stop to examine the one thing that controls everything: their thinking. Here's a truth that will shake you to your core if you really let it sink in. Your entire life is a direct reflection of your thinking. Everything you have right now, everything you've achieved, everything you've failed at, every relationship you're in, every dollar in your bank account, every habit you've formed, it all started with a thought. Your thoughts create your beliefs create your actions create your results, and your results create your life. So if you want to transform your life from ordinary to great, you must first transform your thinking from ordinary to great. This isn't some mystical abstract concept. This is practical, actionable, life-changing wisdom that the greatest achievers throughout history have understood and applied. Einstein didn't think like other physicists. Steve Jobs didn't think like other computer engineers. Oprah didn't think like other talk show hosts. Elon Musk doesn't think like other entrepreneurs. What separates them from everyone else isn't some magical talent or lucky break. It's their ability to think differently, to see possibilities where others see limitations, to question assumptions that everyone else accepts as reality, to imagine futures that don't yet exist and then work backward to make them real. The greatest tragedy is that most people never learn to think for themselves. They inherit their thinking from their parents, their culture, their education system, their peer group, their social media feed. They accept limitations that were imposed on them by people who were themselves limited. They believe things are impossible simply because they've never seen them done before. They think small because everyone around them thinks small. They settle for ordinary because ordinary is safe, familiar, and doesn't require them to challenge anything. But you're reading this right now, which means somewhere inside you, there's a part that knows you're capable of more, that refuses to accept ordinary as your destiny, that's hungry for greatness. That part of you is right. You are capable of transforming your thinking, and when you do, everything changes. Let's start by understanding what ordinary thinking actually is, because you can't transform something if you can't identify it. Ordinary thinking is reactive rather than proactive. Ordinary thinkers wait for life to happen to them and then respond based on their circumstances. They say things like, "I'll be happy when I get that promotion," or "I'll start my business when I have more money," or "I'll work on myself when things calm down." They're always waiting for external conditions to be perfect before they take action, which means they spend their entire lives waiting. Great thinkers understand that you don't wait for the right circumstances, you create them. You don't wait for opportunities, you create them. You don't wait to feel motivated, you take action and motivation follows. Ordinary thinking is limited by what already exists. Ordinary thinkers look at reality and accept it as fixed. They see what is and assume that's what must be. They say, "That's just how things are," or "That's impossible," or "No one's ever done that before." Their thinking is constrained by current reality, by conventional wisdom, by what's already been proven. Great thinkers start with what could be. They use imagination, vision, and possibility thinking to see beyond current limitations. They ask, "What if?" and why not, instead of accepting that's just how it is. They understand that everything that exists now was once impossible, was once just an idea in someone's mind, was once laughed at and dismissed by ordinary thinkers. Ordinary thinking is focused on problems. Ordinary thinkers see obstacles and stop. They encounter a challenge and immediately start listing all the reasons why it can't be done, why it's too hard, why they're not qualified, why the timing is wrong. Their mind is trained to find problems, and when you look for problems, you'll always find them. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where their negative thinking creates negative results, which reinforces their negative thinking. Great thinkers are focused on solutions. When they encounter an obstacle, their mind immediately goes to work, finding ways around it, over it, under it, through it. They see problems as puzzles to be solved, as opportunities to innovate, as chances to develop new skills. They ask, how can I make this work? Instead of accepting, this won't work. This solution-oriented thinking opens up possibilities that problem-focused thinking can never see. Ordinary thinking is rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of looking stupid, fear of losing what they have, fear of the unknown. This fear keeps ordinary thinkers playing small, staying in their comfort zone, choosing security over possibility. They make decisions based on avoiding pain rather than pursuing pleasure. They let fear dictate their choices, which means they never take the risks necessary for greatness. Great thinkers feel fear too, but they don't let it control their decisions. They understand that fear is just an emotion, a signal that they're about to do something meaningful, something that matters, something that will make them grow. They feel the fear and act anyway. They make decisions based on vision and values rather than on avoiding discomfort. They're more afraid of regret than they are of failure. Ordinary thinking is comparative. Ordinary thinkers are constantly comparing themselves to others, measuring their worth by external standards, defining success by what society tells them is valuable. They look at what other people have and feel inadequate. They worry about what other people think. They make choices designed to impress others rather than fulfill themselves. This comparative thinking creates an endless cycle of dissatisfaction because there will always be someone with more, someone doing better, someone more advanced. Great thinkers are competitive with only one person, who they were yesterday. They measure success by their own growth, their own progress, their own alignment with their values and vision. They don't care about keeping up with anyone else because they're too busy running their own race. They define success on their own terms and then pursue it relentlessly. This internal focus creates sustainable fulfillment because they're always moving forward regardless of what anyone else is doing. Now that you understand what ordinary thinking looks like, let's talk about how to transform it into the kind of thinking that creates greatness. The first and most fundamental shift you must make is this. You must take complete ownership of your thinking. Most people are passive recipients of whatever thoughts happen to float through their mind. A negative thought appears and they believe it. A limiting belief surfaces and they accept it as truth. A fear emerges and they let it dictate their behavior. This is intellectual laziness, and it will keep you ordinary forever. You must become an active director of your thoughts rather than a passive observer. This means developing metacognition, which is the ability to think about your thinking. Throughout your day, pause and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought serving me or limiting me? Is this thought based on truth or on fear? Is this the kind of thinking that will create the results I want? When you catch yourself thinking ordinary thoughts, limiting thoughts, negative thoughts, you consciously choose to replace them with better thoughts. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's about refusing to let your default mental programming run your life. The second transformation is learning to think in questions rather than statements. Ordinary thinking makes declarations. I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm not smart enough. These statements close doors and end possibilities. Great thinking asks questions. How could I do this? What would make this easier? What do I need to learn to become capable of this? Questions open up possibilities, activate problem-solving parts of your brain, and keep you in a growth mindset. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. If you ask disempowering questions like, why does this always happen to me? Or, why am I so unlucky? Your brain will find answers that reinforce victimhood and helplessness. If you ask empowering questions like, what can I learn from this? Or, how can I use this situation to become stronger? Your brain will find answers that create growth and resilience. Start paying attention to the questions you're asking yourself throughout the day and upgrade them. The third transformation is developing long-term thinking. Ordinary thinkers are focused on immediate gratification, instant results, short-term pleasure. They choose what feels good now, even when it creates problems later. They eat the junk food because it tastes good in the moment, even though it makes them unhealthy over time. They skip the workout because they're tired now, even though it makes them weaker over time. They avoid difficult conversations because they're uncomfortable now, even though it damages relationships over time. They spend money on things that don't matter because it gives them a temporary dopamine hit, even though it keeps them financially stressed over time. Great thinkers play the long game. They make decisions based on who they want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. They choose short-term discomfort for long-term gain. They delay gratification because they understand that the best things in life require patience, persistence, and sustained effort. They think in decades, while ordinary thinkers think in days. This long-term orientation completely changes your decision-making and puts you on a trajectory toward greatness. The fourth transformation is learning to think in systems rather than in goals. Ordinary thinkers set goals and then hope they achieve them. They say, I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to make $1 million, or I want to write a book. And then they rely on motivation and willpower to get there. When motivation fades, which it always does, they stop making progress and eventually give up. Great thinkers build systems. They understand that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Instead of focusing on losing 30 pounds, they build a system of daily habits around nutrition and exercise. Instead of focusing on making $1 million, they build a system of daily actions that create value and generate income. Instead of focusing on writing a book, they build a system of writing 500 words every morning. Systems are repeatable, sustainable, and they compound over time. Goals are destinations. Systems are vehicles. Focus on building better systems, and the results will take care of themselves. The fifth transformation is thinking in abundance rather than scarcity. Ordinary thinking is rooted in scarcity. There's not enough to go around. If someone else wins, I lose. I need to protect what I have. Opportunities are limited. Success is a zero-sum game. This scarcity mindset creates fear, competition, and selfishness. It makes you see other people's success as a threat. It makes you hoard rather than share. It makes you play, not to lose, rather than play to win. Great thinking is rooted in abundance. There's more than enough for everyone. Other people's success doesn't diminish my potential. Opportunities are everywhere. If I learn to see them, I can create value rather than compete for scraps. Collaboration is more powerful than competition. This abundance mindset creates generosity, confidence, and possibility thinking. When you believe there's enough, you're willing to take risks. When you believe opportunities are abundant, you don't cling desperately to any one path. When you believe in your ability to create value, you don't fear competition. Scarcity thinking keeps you small and fearful. Abundance thinking opens up limitless possibilities. The sixth transformation is learning to think like a beginner. Ordinary thinkers become attached to what they know. They build an identity around their expertise and then defend it against anything that challenges it. They say, I already know that, or that won't work, or I've tried that before. Their ego is invested in being right, which means they close themselves off to new information, new perspectives, new possibilities. This fixed mindset keeps them stuck because the world is constantly changing, and what worked before won't necessarily work now. Great thinkers maintain a beginner's mind. They approach situations with curiosity, openness, and humility. They're always willing to question their assumptions, challenge their beliefs, and learn new ways of thinking. They say, "I don't know, teach me," or "That's interesting, tell me more," or "Maybe there's a better way." They're not attached to being right. They're committed to finding truth and what works. This growth mindset allows them to continuously evolve, adapt, and improve. The seventh transformation is thinking in principles rather than tactics. Ordinary thinkers focus on what to do. They want step-by-step instructions, specific tactics, exact formulas. They're looking for the shortcut, the hack, the secret. They want someone to give them the exact blueprint so they can copy it without having to think. The problem with this approach is that tactics are context dependent. What works for one person in one situation might not work for another person in a different situation. When the tactic doesn't work, they feel lost and look for the next tactic to try. Great thinkers focus on why things work. They study principles, universal laws, underlying patterns. They want to understand the fundamentals so they can adapt to any situation. They know that principles are timeless and transferable. If you understand the principles of persuasion, you can apply them in sales, marketing, relationships, parenting, anything. If you understand the principles of learning, you can master any skill. If you understand the principles of value creation, you can build wealth in any economy. Principles empower you to think for yourself and create your own path. The eighth transformation is developing contrarian thinking. Ordinary thinkers follow the crowd. They do what everyone else is doing, believe what everyone else believes, want what everyone else wants. They assume that if everyone is doing it, it must be right. This herd mentality feels safe because there's comfort in conformity, but it guarantees ordinary results because you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing. Great thinkers are willing to go against the crowd. They question popular opinions, challenge conventional wisdom, and think independently. They understand that the crowd is usually wrong about what matters most. The crowd is focused on consumption. Great thinkers focus on creation. The crowd seeks comfort. Great thinkers seek growth. The crowd follows trends. Great thinkers set them. The crowd reacts to circumstances. Great thinkers create circumstances. This doesn't mean being contrarian just for the sake of it. It means having the courage to think for yourself and act on your own conclusions even when they differ from popular opinion. The ninth transformation is learning to think probabilistically. Ordinary thinkers think in absolutes and certainties. They need guarantees before they act. They say, "Will this definitely work?" or "What if I fail?" They want zero risk, which means they take zero chances, which means they achieve zero extraordinary results. They're paralyzed by uncertainty and missed opportunities while they're waiting for certainty that will never come. Great thinkers understand that life is probability, not certainty. They think in terms of what are the odds and what's the expected value. They take calculated risks where the potential upside is significantly greater than the potential downside. They don't need guarantees. They need favorable odds. They're comfortable with uncertainty because they understand that all growth, all innovation, all achievement happens in the realm of uncertainty. They make bets with asymmetric upside, limited downside, unlimited upside. This probabilistic thinking allows them to move forward boldly while others are frozen in fear. The 10th transformation is thinking creatively and making unexpected connections. Ordinary thinkers think linearly and literally. They accept categories and boundaries as fixed. They see things in isolation rather than in connection. They think inside the box because they don't even realize there is a box. Their thinking is predictable, conventional, and derivative. Great thinkers think laterally and metaphorically. They connect ideas from different fields and create innovations. They borrow concepts from one domain and apply them to another. They see patterns and parallels that others miss. Steve Jobs connected calligraphy with computer design and created beautiful typography in Apple products. Elon Musk connected first principles thinking from physics with business problems and revolutionized multiple industries. The greatest breakthroughs come from combining existing ideas in new ways, and this requires a mind that's constantly making connections, seeing relationships, and thinking beyond obvious categories. Read widely across different fields, study art and science, learn about history and technology, expose your mind to diverse ideas, and then watch the creative connections emerge. Now let's talk about the practical daily practices that will transform your thinking from ordinary to great. First, you must feed your mind with extraordinary input. Your thinking is shaped by what you consume, so if you're consuming ordinary content, you'll think ordinary thoughts. Stop spending hours scrolling through social media, looking at what other people are eating for lunch. Stop binge-watching mindless television shows. Stop filling your mind with celebrity gossip, political outrage, and fear-based news. Start reading books by great thinkers. Start listening to podcasts with experts in fields you want to master. Start studying biographies of people who achieved greatness. Start exposing yourself to ideas that challenge you, stretch you, and expand your thinking. Commit to reading for at least 30 minutes every single day. In a year, that's 182 hours of learning. In 10 years, that's 1,220 hours, which is enough to become an expert in multiple fields. The compound effect of daily learning is extraordinary. Second, practice daily reflection and journaling. Most people never think about their thinking. They just react and move on. Set aside time each day, even just 10 minutes, to reflect on your thoughts, examine your beliefs, and question your assumptions. Write down what you're learning, what you're struggling with, what you're discovering about yourself. Ask yourself powerful questions. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What am I afraid of and why? What limiting belief is holding me back right now? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? This practice of examining your thinking makes you conscious of patterns you've been running unconsciously, and awareness is the first step to transformation. Third, surround yourself with great thinkers. You cannot think great thoughts in isolation from great minds. Find mentors, either in person or through their books and content, who think at a higher level than you currently do. Join mastermind groups with ambitious, growth-oriented people. Have deep conversations about ideas rather than shallow conversations about people and events. Distance yourself from people who think small, complain constantly, and pull you down to their level. This isn't about being elitist, it's about being intentional. Your thinking will naturally rise or fall to match the people you spend the most time with, so choose carefully. Fourth, embrace discomfort and seek out challenges. Your brain grows by being pushed beyond its current capacity. If you're always doing things that are easy and familiar, your thinking remains ordinary. Take on projects that scare you. Learn skills that seem impossibly hard. Put yourself in situations where you're the least knowledgeable person in the room. This constant stretching of your mental capabilities transforms how you think. You develop confidence that you can figure things out. You build mental flexibility and resilience. You expand your sense of what's possible. Ordinary thinkers avoid discomfort and stay in their comfort zone. Great thinkers deliberately seek discomfort because they know that's where growth happens. Fifth, practice thinking in writing. There's something about the act of writing that clarifies and deepens thinking in ways that just thinking in your head cannot achieve. When you force yourself to articulate your thoughts in writing, you discover gaps in your logic, weaknesses in your arguments, and areas where your thinking is fuzzy. Writing makes you think more rigorously. Start writing regularly, whether it's journaling, blogging, creating content, or just writing down your thoughts about problems you're trying to solve. The discipline of translating thoughts into words on a page will transform the quality of your thinking. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to accept. Transforming your thinking from ordinary to great requires consistent effort over an extended period of time. It's not a one-time event or a weekend workshop. It's a daily practice, a lifelong commitment, a fundamental shift in how you approach your inner world. Most people will read this and feel inspired for about 5 minutes and then go right back to their ordinary thinking patterns, because change is hard and staying the same is easy. But you're not most people, or at least you don't have to be. You have a choice right now in this moment. You can close this and go back to thinking the same thoughts that have produced your current results, or you can decide that today is the day you begin the transformation. You can commit to examining your thinking, challenging your assumptions, upgrading your beliefs, and deliberately cultivating the kind of mind that creates greatness. Greatness is not reserved for a special few who were born with some magical gift. Greatness is available to anyone willing to think differently than the masses, to see possibilities where others see limitations, to take action while others make excuses, to persist when others quit. It starts with a single thought: I am capable of more than I've been settling for. And then it continues with thousands of small decisions to think better thoughts, ask better questions, consume better content, have better conversations, and take better actions. Over time, these upgraded thoughts compound into an upgraded life. Your circumstances begin to shift. Opportunities appear that you never noticed before. Resources show up at exactly the right time. People are drawn to the energy you're radiating. Problems that seemed impossible start getting solved. Progress that seemed slow suddenly accelerates. This isn't magic or luck. This is the natural result of transforming your thinking from ordinary to great. So make the decision right now. Commit to becoming a great thinker. Study how successful people think. Question every limiting belief you've been carrying. Expand your vision of what's possible. Take ownership of your mental programming. Feed your mind with wisdom. Surround yourself with excellence. Challenge yourself constantly. And watch as your entire life transforms in ways you can't even imagine from where you currently stand. The world doesn't need more ordinary thinkers following the same paths to the same mediocre destinations. The world needs people who think differently, who see solutions to problems everyone else accepts, who create innovations that improve lives, who inspire others to believe in bigger possibilities. That person can be you, but only if you're willing to transform your thinking. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Transform ordinary thinking into greatness, and you transform your entire existence.